Hey, I'm Chase, and this is All Things Rental. Now, I did not want to make this video, but some things need to be said. I do not love Tudor at all. Now, like other members in the watch community, there are watches I love, watches I hate, and watches that I'm basically indifferent about, that I could care less. An example, I love Rolex. I hate Richard Mille, or Richard Mille. I don't really care that much about Invicta. So if that gives you sort of an idea, moving on. Now, like a lot of people who fell into this trap, I used to think that Tudor was basically like Rolex's little brother. And for a long time, Tudor was Rolex's little brother. Like the Tudor Prince, a vintage watch that you can get, used Rolex parts. It has a Rolex crown on the crown of the watch. They used Rolex parts. Then Tudor moved on, began creating its own unique creations like the BlackBay. Now, for a long time, I lusted over Tudor to include their Tudor GMT. I think it was a great looking watch, but like a lot of people, I fell into the trap of instead of getting something that I want while waiting for it, I instead chose a lesser option like the Tudor BlackBay and thought, hey, why not try Tudor out? They're just as good. And arguably, they are just as good as Rolex. However, the design aesthetic is completely different. Now let's talk about why I am getting rid of my Tudor. First, the overall size dimensions doesn't fit with my wrist. Now, it is a 41 millimeter watch, which isn't really that big when it comes to diameter watches, but it is 14.5 millimeters thick, which makes it sit pretty proudly on your wrist. And it is heavy. It is a chunky watch. I have done my best to wear it and fall in love with it. In fact, when I first got it, I had that honeymoon phase, which quickly grew off. And I found myself not wanting to wear it. Now, someone could say, yeah, it is a chunky watch, but you knew that going into it. And that's true, I did, because I also own a Tissot C-Star, which is far larger than the Tudor BlackBay, and I wore that in my wedding. So I understand large watches. I don't mind large watches. It's not the fact that it's large and heavy. Trust me, my bicep grew half an inch just wearing the Tissot for a year. Of course, that's sarcasm. But the Tudor, every time I wear it and I look down at my wrist, there's just nothing there. There's no love at all. Is it a great watch? Yeah, it is a great watch. Tudor is a great company. And I see all these other watch reviewers and influencers in the watch community pushing Tudor, the Tudor Pelagos, Tudor BlackBay, the Tudor BlackBay 58. And after having a BlackBay, I can't fall in love with them. All the designs are almost the same. And yeah, the Pelagos is far different than the BlackBay. But the BlackBay looks an awful lot like the GMT. And it is what it is. Now, people could say the same thing about Rolex, right? Rolex Submariners look just like the Rolex GMTs, minus, its clear differences. But the design aesthetic is basically the same. So I understand where people are coming from, but I just do not like the design aesthetic of Tudor. So what I'm basically trying to say is do not fall into the trap that I did and say, hey, I have very little feelings about this watch like Tudor. I had very little feelings about it. On paper, it's a great watch. In pictures, it looks like a damn good watch. But that doesn't mean anything unless you hold it in your hand. Now, I ordered mine offline, and it's very difficult, especially in today's day and age, to go into a boutique, try something on, wear it around inside the boutique, inside the authorized dealer, and then decide then if you want it. I think one of the biggest traps right now with everybody locked down, everybody ordering stuff online, even just the generational gap of ordering stuff online, which is far more prevalent now than going to a brick and mortar location, is the pure fact that you may buy a watch, you may have a great honeymoon phase during the period of time that sort of you have the ability to return it if you don't like it. And then once the honeymoon phase wears off, you're stuck with this $3,600 watch that you just don't want, and now you have to try to get rid of. So don't fall into the trap that I did. And I know a lot of people are going to be like, hey, you're hating on Tudor, you're a Rolex fanboy or whatever. Again, yeah, I love Rolex. I hate some of the stuff they're doing with their brand. I hate the fact they have preferred customer lists now, whereas prior I could actually be put on a list. And now it's like, oh, you haven't spent a lot of money with us, so you don't deserve a Rolex. Well, I can say a big F you to them, and I would rather spend a little bit more money on the secondary market for a used model than I would ever go to an authorized dealer again. It's really a shame. And it's also pushed me in other directions for other watch brands. For example, I really love the Omega Seamaster. I love the new Omega Seamaster coaxial movement, and I love the design aesthetic of the watch, and I actually love some of the color combinations they have, with like the oranges popping off and stuff like that. It just looks great to me, but it's not a great everyday watch. I got the Tudor because I was like, okay, I have a Submariner. Next, let's get a Tudor so that I can wear that basically with everything. It may be the perfect everyday watch, unlike my Rolex Hulk, which really doesn't fit with everything. And I wore it, and it is a good watch, but at 14.5 millimeters in height, it doesn't really fit underneath the cuff, right? It bunches everything up above it. So it just reminds me of a very large Invicta, which I don't care about Invicta, just like I don't care about Tudor. I just got sucked into this downfall of spending almost $4,000 on a watch that I don't love. So be very careful about that. The only thing I can tell you is do your research. Even with as much research as I did, I still decided to order it. Everybody was closed. I got it, and I just do not love it. But I am looking for another watch. Hopefully, after the first of the year, I am looking at possibly, I've said in a past video, getting a 50th anniversary Kermit, because I'll never be able to afford the newer ones, but I love the look of the older ones. You know, the 2007s, 2006s, and we'll have to see. Well, I have a lot of videos coming out this week. In fact, I got a lot of videos coming out this week. I got a build video coming out tomorrow. I have a watch, this San Martin that just came in, that I'm going to be reviewing, doing an unboxing, and doing an in-depth review with my other San Martin. And, you know, if you guys want to see those videos, make sure you're hitting that notification bell. Well, if you like videos and videos like this, hit that subscribe button. Leave a comment down below of what you guys think and the content you guys would like to see on this channel. Again, all things random, a lot of random stuff, mostly watches, and again, some build videos, because some people, they love watches, but, for example, I created a glass smoker for whiskey drinks or cocktails this weekend, and I used it, and it's amazing, and I basically built it for 10 bucks, and the only place you can buy it is online for like 60 to 100. So sometimes watches are great, but you know what goes great with watches? Drinks. So hit that notification bell so you guys can be notified when I drop the next video. Until next time.